welcome everyone. It's a great honor to be here in your association for the Divine Appearance Day of Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura. And to begin our discussion this morning, I've invited my dear godbrother, Sarvabhauma Prabhu, who's one of the pioneers of the Sankirtan movement, especially noted for book distribution. In the early days, he had gotten Śrīla Prabhupāda's attention for distributing more books than any individual had done in the world by his deep dedication. And I've asked him to please recite the poem that Śrīla Prabhupāda wrote for his Guru Maharaj on the occasion of Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura's appearance day in 1935. And this was something that Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta noted. He had empowered his disciple, Abhay Charanaravinda, and noted that he saw something in him, that he would be able to communicate the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world. And after he wrote this poem, everyone could see the brilliance of his spiritual inspiration from within his heart for Lord Chaitanya to express in perfect language in English, although it was his second language, the mood of the Sankirtan movement and the glorification of his spiritual master. So, over to you, Sarvabhauma Prabhu.
Adore ye all. Be happy day, blessed in heaven, sweet in May, King here in Puri, the holy place, my Lord and Master, His Divine Grace. O my Master, the angelic angels, give us thy light, light up thy candle. Struggle for existence, a human race, the only hope is divine grace. Misled we are all going astray. Save us, Lord, our fervent prayer. Wonder thy ways to turn our face, adore thy feet, your divine grace. Forgotten Kṛṣṇa, we fallen soul, carrying most heavy the illusion's toll. Darkness around, all untraced, the only hope is divine grace. Message of service thou hast brought, a helpful life as Chaitanya wrought. Unknown to all, it's full of grace. That's your gift, your divine grace. Absolute is sentient, thou hast proved. Impersonal calamity thou hast moved. Gives us a life new and fresh. Worship thy feet, your divine grace. Had you not come, who had told the message of Kṛṣṇa, forceful and bold? That's your right, you have the mace. Save us a falling with divine grace. The line of service, as drawn by you, is pleasing and healthy, like morning dew. The oldest of all, but in new dress. Miracle done, your divine grace.
Thank you, Sarvabhauma Prabhu, for internalizing that message and exemplifying it in your life. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thinking of context, here we are at a leadership gathering talking about what are the main principles for carrying forth the Sankirtan movement. After all, when Śrīla Prabhupāda was queried about what is an advanced devotee, and there were several terms mentioned during that conversation, the morning walk, which is recorded on the database, the term of pure devotee or acharya, were mentioned, and Prabhupāda's pointed conclusion was a phrase from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, which glorifies Śrīla Advaitacārya, in which it says, Acharya bhakti-saṁsanāt, Advaitam harinādvaitad, Acharyam bhakti-saṁsanāt. Saṁsanāt means to relay a message. And bhakti, obviously, bhakti-saṁsanāt, to carry forth the message. The Prabhupada was answering about the position of an advanced devotee. He said, pure devotee doesn't mean omniscient like Kṛṣṇa. Because one of the interlocutors had asked Prabhupada, well, what if we see that an advanced devotee or the spiritual master has to wear glasses or forgets a verse? And Prabhupada said, oh no, then they've not understood. And then he said, advanced means bhakti-saṁsanāt, that the person is fully absorbed in thinking about how to spread the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world and practically engaging in it. And he said that is the meaning. We find the same context in the Śrī Upadeśāmṛta when Prabhupada's talking about different levels of devotees. Kṛṣṇeti, yasya, giri, manasādriyeta, dīkṣāsti, praṇatibhiś, bhajantam, īśam, śuśrūṣayā, bhajana-vijñam, ananyam, anya-nindādi-śūnya-hṛdam, īpsita-saṅga-labdhyā. And in the purport, he describes Kṛṣṇa, madhyam, uttam. And Śrīla Prabhupāda describes how the uttama-adhikārī is one who's always thinking of Kṛṣṇa, and especially in the context of devising means to spread the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. That is the absorption of the devotee. This is a unique, although perfectly shastric, explanation of an advanced devotee, and it is the flavor of our Śrī Guru parampara, coming down through Bhaktivedanta Ṭhākura, Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura, and His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, who made this a focal point for the movement. In fact, Prabhupada mentions how he had introduced the chanting of 64 rounds, reduced it to 32, then 16. And he said, if we're able to do that regularly and use the balance of our time for spreading the Krishna consciousness movement, working hard in that matter, certainly will be accepted by Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura. And this is important, especially when we're talking about the great acharyas, and today we're remembering Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura, and especially we can remember him in relationship to Śrīla Prabhupāda. And several ways in which Śrīla Prabhupāda described his relationship with his spiritual master. And we can see Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura's interactions with Śrīla Prabhupāda can be instructive for us regarding leadership and the way we act, our achar, sat achar. One is Prabhupada's emphasis on the importance of the order of the spiritual master. A phrase Prabhupada had spoken in relationship to his discipleship of Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura is that he said, I took it from his mouth that he was very fond of books. And thinking of that means there was some advocacy. The word advocate has the word vak in it, which means something spoken. Many people speak things, but it doesn't mean anything. It has to be in proper context. If you're standing outside a 7-Eleven or whatever the equivalent is here in India, and somebody says you should go to jail, you just get in your rickshaw and leave, and you don't go to jail. But if you're in a court of law, and the judge properly or duly appointed says you have to go to jail, then you have to go to jail. Context is important, and the context of the Guru Parampara is vital because there's authorized speech that comes down from Kṛṣṇa, and that is the vibration that is fit to uplift any soul in this world. What to speak of empower is mentioned in the 10th canto, 2nd chapter, in the prayers of demigods to Lord Kṛṣṇa within the womb. Swayam bujaksha kila satvedandi samadhina veshita chetasayake tvat padapotena mahatkritena kurvanti govatsa padam bhavabdim. That is that the goal of life is to meditate on Kṛṣṇa, one-pointedly be in samadhi. And then they go on to say, I'm saying they because it's the demigods, plural, tvat padapotena mahatkritena, that when you follow the great, the Mahat, Kṛṣṇa, then you become great. What's more, you become liberated. And the process of self-realization, Prabhupada explains in his purport and in the next purport, is that the great souls embrace the path that Kṛṣṇa has given, and they also codify it in such a way that anyone can follow it. In fact, he says they codify it in such a way that they can follow it themselves, and then they leave that process behind for others to follow. And tvatpada potena mahatkritena kurvanti govatsa padam bhavabdim means that if you're willing to follow that path, then the ocean of material life, which is impossible to cross, daiviyeshu gunamayi, etc., it shrinks to the size of the water contained within the hoofprint of a calf. So you can easily step over by the mercy of the greats. This is something Sutta Goswami also mentions in the Śrīmad Bhagavatam, the outset, 2nd chapter. Bejare muneo tagre bhagavantam adhoksajam sattam vishudham shemaya kalpante nutaniha. Previously, the great souls followed the path of Lord Vishnu because they knew he's transcendental, he's beyond the material modes of nature. And anyone who follows in the footsteps of those sages, even if they're not great sages, they could be anyone, becomes eligible, kalpante nutaniha, in this world, they become eligible for the same result that the great sages achieved. And Śrīla Prabhupāda stressed that he had no qualification. He stressed this. Stressed means he said it many times. My only qualification is I followed the order of my spiritual master. And following the order, and this goes to leadership in a spiritual organization, without any expectation of personal gain. In other words, I'm leading in such a way that I can follow the order of the Guru Parampara, and whatever that might mean through the chain of authority in my spiritual organization. But I'm doing it in such a way as to cooperate and help in the best way possible without a sense of personal gain, aggrandizement, profit. And Śrīla Prabhupāda had said that this was the qualification, the way that he had embraced the order of his spiritual master. He mentions his revelation upon reading Vyavasayatmaka buddhi ekeha kurunandana. If there's any way to get more air in here, I think that it'll be beneficial to the brains of all, because partially the brain runs on oxygen. When there's a lack of it, the productivity goes down. Is it possible? More air? Can one order more air? Turn fans on, get air. How would one follow the order of the spiritual master with no air? This is an instructive point, although we've heard it many times. It's an entry point for anyone, that the order is an on-ramp to follow the great souls. One can begin from whatever position one's in and do the best one can. Prabhupada said, After receiving the order from his spiritual master, and it's well known that in 1922, Prabhupada's classmate and friend Naren had urged our Śrīla Prabhupāda to come meet Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura. We all know he was reluctant. And there was a scene on the street, according to a Back to Godhead magazine article by Satsvarup Das Goswami, with one friend pulling on the arm of another. Passers-by might have thought, yes, they're friendly, but what's going on here? He's dragging him. And Prabhupada said, I was forcibly dragged. And those steps are still there at Ottadanga Junction Road that Prabhupada traversed. They're preserved. It's symbolic, but in the sense that we can also traverse those steps, it's a matter of a will. Prabhupada came a little bit against his will, and that's part of the Sankirtan movement also. When we go out to spread the order, we do meet people who are slightly reluctant. We just came back from our yatra in Jagannath Puri and Vrindavan. And during that yatra, we emphasized distributing books and having Harinam Sankirtan going to and from and during our programs. Happy to say in the last 10 days, we distributed 5,000 books to the people. And I personally witnessed this sense of Naren dragging, a little bit of dragging. We met a man in Puri, just said we have left the ISKCON temple and we were walking towards Lord Chaitanya, who was in the center of town. The closer we got to him, the more Bengalis we met. And I saw a gentleman down some stairs trying to stay a little bit out of sight, smoking a cigarette, a Bengali gentleman. And we approached him with our proposition of him accepting books and perhaps giving a donation. And when we came to him, he had a cigarette and he put it behind his back. And I was thinking how this is bhakti-saṁsanāt. If you follow the order and you go out into public and you're a representative, you feel some authority. The man put the cigarette behind his back. He tried to do everything possible with one hand. It's not possible to give a donation when it's in your wallet with one hand. So he tried to balance the cigarette on the ledge behind him and keep it going because there was a little bit left. He gave the donation. We walked away. We looked back. He was reading the book and smoking his cigarette. This is the power of the order of the spiritual master when one accepts humbly that I am a servant of the servant of the servant. One becomes an authorized personality. Our Śrīla Prabhupāda, of course, as he mentions himself, you might say it was a chance, or he said it was destiny. But he met his Guru Maharaj there, as we all know, who gave him the instruction there in 1922, before he sat up straight, before his Guru, after he had offered Dandavat obeisances along with his friend Naren, that you should spread the Krishna consciousness movement in the West. What a startling order, but it went to his heart after some discussion in which Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta gave another principle that we can imbibe for leadership, and that is when Abhay, who are now our founder Acharya A.C. Bhakti, His Divine Grace, had argued with his spiritual master that we need independence in India. And who will listen to us when we're subjugated by the British? First, we need to achieve independence, and then our voice will be heard in the world. To which Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura had said that this is too important to wait for anything. He also said the material world is categorically problematic. It's not that you have problems, it's that the whole world is a problem. And there's a way in which the only solution to that problem, he spoke authoritatively, is to take the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and spread it around the world. This was an order that Abhay had been waiting for. He had been primed for this by his pure devotee father and by his destiny as a pure devotee of Lord Kṛṣṇa. When that order came into his heart, he said he kept it also instructive as how patient his spiritual master was with him. It's another principle of leadership, of fanning the spark. First of all, a preacher of Krishna consciousness, a leader in the Krishna conscious movement, should have the vision of potentiality in every living being. There's a way in which some judge people by their past. Others, on a higher level of acceptance, consider people's present condition. So what about the past? Now this is what you are. At the highest level are those who consider the potentiality, means the future. And for those who are engaged as servants of the Sankirtan movement, sometimes we may complain, what's this guy doing in the movement? But you might say, to me, who let you in? And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu let everybody in, provided they agree to follow the order, the simple principle. Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura had this clear vision when he saw when he saw Abhay. Why did he say it before he even sat up? You should spread this all over the world. Because he was able to see, he had the potential. Ishvare taradineshu balisheshu dusatsucha prema maitri kripopeksha yakaroti samadhyamaha. The preacher, the anya-nindādi-śūnya-hṛdam, said the Yogendras, a very high-level devotee. In fact, uttama-adhikārī sometimes come down to the Madhyama platform in order to represent Kṛṣṇa. And they see four categories of people. This is their duty to develop this vision. Or you can say, if someone's developed this empowerment to have this vision, then they're called a Madhyama-adhikārī. And that is, they see the Supreme Lord. They know He's the goal of life. They see those who are devotees, and they make appropriate friendships and offer service as per kṛṣṇeti yasya giritam manasādriyeta. They also see the innocent, balisheshu, those who are open. And then they also see those who are averse, inimical towards God. And they act appropriately to each one of these classes of people. For the Supreme Lord, they do everything to remember Him, develop their prema. For the devotees, they offer service and friendship, develop friendship appropriately. And for the balisheshu, the innocents, they pour in as much nectar as possible. That's the preoccupation of the Vaishnavas. It's compassion. That's our job. And it's good work if you can get it. And we're meant to go out everywhere and find the balisheshus and pour in as much mercy as possible. And then for those who are dvisatsu, we should have a sense of compassion, but non-engagement. Jiva Goswami says, don't push them because they're already inimical. Don't make them more inimical, but you can leave them with a good impression. And you can also pray for them. And pray for yourself to have a means in the future to engage them. What was it that Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta saw within Abhay when he offered obeisances? And how was it that he nurtured him over so many years? After that meeting in 1922, in 1923, I'm saying Abhay, I could say Śrīla Prabhupāda, he then went to Allahabad because he had a child, one child at that time. He'd been married for 3 years, 4 years when he went to Allahabad. And there he started a franchise of pharmaceutical business. It was very successful. And he says, I was always thinking, remembering how I met my Guru Maharaj. And he said, within my heart, he said, practically, I accepted him in my heart. And then there was another chance meeting because the members of the Gaudiya Math had come to the Kumbh Mela. You've heard of that, right? It was going on at that time. And they had come there to Allahabad, and according to the locals, they said, you go meet Abhay Babu. He's very pious. He'll help you. And they wanted to establish a center there. They wanted help with their preaching work at the Kumbh Mela as well. So when they walked into the pharmacy that day, that was 5 years, 1928. And at that time, Prabhupada recounts, then now I saw they had come again, the representatives of my spiritual master. And he was so happy, joyous, to then engage in some service to help them. And Prabhupada had business interests in Bombay, Allahabad. He was back and forth. And he helped the Math significantly in Bombay. And by 1933, he had met his spiritual master again in Radhakund at his Vyasa Puja, which was, you do the math, how many years ago. And there, Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta reiterated the order that he had given him when he first met him. Because Śrīla Prabhupada, and we know how it is. It's confusing to know what to do because we have duties. Prabhupada had duties to do. He had a business, he had a family. He had the order of his spiritual master in his heart, incubating how to balance all these out. So he's asked his Guru Maharaj at Radhakund, so what is it? What's the order? His Guru Maharaj said, if you ever get money, print books. He said, this is high-class preaching. Writing, publishing, distributing books. He said, we've built some temples when people came forward voluntarily. Like people are voluntarily coming forward and giving money for the TLVP, right? Say yes. Yes. And he said that that's a seat from which we go out. This is the high class to show compassion to all living beings. He told them that it's the way in which people are suffering because they're in ignorance. No food program, no hospital can help. Only Maya Mugda Jivera Nahi Swata Krishna Gyan. Jivera Kripaya Koi, Krishna Veda Puran. There's an intervention through knowledge that comes from transcendental literature, Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta said. And he had taken up from his spiritual master, Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, who had written a book, Lord Chaitanya, his Mission and Precepts, I believe it's called. Life and Precepts. He had sent it out to, as we know, McGill University, Thoreau, Emerson, other luminaries, with the hopes that there could be a universal religion in which people from the East, West, all over the world could come together under the banner of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and chant Jai Sachinandan. Chant what? And Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvatī Prabhupāda says, just as Śrīla Advaitacharya was compelled to call out for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to appear, so similarly Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura called out for someone to help him with his very clear vision. What is our brand? Our brand is pure devotional service. That's it. What do? We worship Kṛṣṇa with no motive. And our methodology, our vision, or what's our mission all over the world? Pritiviti achayata, yaran nagaradi gram. To every town and village. That's a big mission statement. And our vision is what Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura says, everyone will come together and dance and chant the names of God without any other concern. So he re-emphasized that order to his disciple there at Radhakund, where he also accepted second initiation. And he had offered that poem. And in 1935, what? He wrote the poem 1935, and his spiritual master departed in 1936. But there is also, whenever we go to Jagannath Puri, and we have the benefit of having Madhavananda Prabhu's association, we go to the Gaudiya Math there at Chatak Parvat, where Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura established a bhajan kutir. He always mentions that just 2 weeks before his spiritual master left the world, our Śrīla Prabhupāda had written another letter to confirm the order. And he said, what is my duty? He said, I can't serve you directly like so many others. So what should I do? And he reconfirmed to Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta that you please preach this in English in the West, spread it around the world. And as Madhavananda Prabhu loves to point out, he said, this will do good for you, and it will do good for everyone who helps you. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Madhavananda. What's more, there's a phrase that we might pass over very easily, but it could become our life and soul. If somebody wants to have a vitalization of their spiritual life or of their community somewhere, we can take a phrase that Prabhupada uttered himself from his own lotus mouth, which was, so kindly help me. 1975, Los Angeles, from the Vyasasana. Prabhupada talked about his mission following a spiritual master, which had unfolded after his spiritual master's departure. Prabhupada had, minus all the India endeavors and many details, he had come to America. He had gotten some money. There was no money at that time, but when he did get some, he bought a printing press. And he had also had 10 of his disciples apprentice in New York City of how to work a printing press in different jobs. So as soon as Prabhupada got some money, bought a house on Beacon Street in Boston, and Narayana came and reinforced the floor of the old house so that it didn't cave in with the weight of the printing press. And he brought it in. He soon afterwards started ISKCON Press to print books, just as his spiritual master had said. That was circa 1968. And 1972, he founded Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, which was full scale to find ways and means to fulfill the vision of Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura, and the Guru Varga at the time, to give compassion for all conditioned souls by mass distribution of Vaishnava literature. I have a few more thoughts, but I think it will be better in the context of discussion. Those who have highly relevant and conversation expanding questions can perhaps ask now. And Navina Narada has already been seated in the audience to ask a question. So.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. In this day and age, accepting an order and authoritative instruction may not seem very palatable. There's many options, many places to go, many things to do, and being told what to do may not be on the top of the wish list of the conditioned soul, even of the aspiring spiritualist. What is it that is lacking to grab that order and making one's life and soul?
Maybe an understanding of how beneficial it is to accept it and how hard it is to work on your own without proper guidance. If one can confirm that one is following Krishna's order, and that by following Krishna's order, one's life can be reasonably successful, or completely successful, but reasonably peaceful. And by contrast, by following one's own mind and not taking shelter somewhere and embracing an order, then one may be tortured by the various opportunities. There's a book, scientific study, they call The Paradox of Choice. Living entities seem to do well when they accept a supreme authority. Prabhupada says it's due to lack of a goal that one's mind is unpeaceful, and the ultimate goal is to follow Kṛṣṇa. So one can educate oneself about the benefit of following Kṛṣṇa through the Guru Parampara. I don't know, I've never really had I remember I was asked to wash pots when I first joined, and I thought it was a great idea. And I didn't mind it at all. I just was happy to be in the building, and then they came one day, Kritakarma, my temple commander, and said, we'd like you to do something else. And I said, what is it? And they said, you go out with one of the devotees and learn how to distribute books. And I thought that was okay too. And I've just found that having something clear that you can verify is an authorized way to participate in following the orders helpful. Okay, let's see if there's another question. Akarna.
We know you're a great spokesman, a great example for distributing Śrīla Prabhupāda's books. What other, aside from book distribution, what other avenues for fulfilling Bhaktisiddhanta's desire for different kinds of spreading the Krishna consciousness movement do you find optimistic about?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I don't know if you've noticed, but oftentimes when I give Bhagavatam class, I don't talk about book distribution because I don't want to be typecast. It's like, yeah, you ask him to give class, he's just going to talk about book distribution. But I thought today I had a little leeway since it was Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta's appearance day. Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta is famous for having revitalized Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's clear instructions and methodologies for following the process of devotional service. Most particularly, Prabhupada mentions in a lecture that he gave on Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta's appearance day was he had defeated the Jati Gosai. There are 13 deviant sects have grown up, which shows how just by degrees one can concoct something, and then living entities tend to gather together and then make a movement out of new things. And therefore, it's highly important, it's, yes, to become well educated in the science of Krishna consciousness. This is also one of the precepts of Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta, who began the Bhakti Shastri program as an example. Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhaktivedanta. And he emphasized that one should be very clear about what Lord Chaitanya's philosophy is and what also it isn't. Siddhanta Balaya Chitanakara Alash Iha Hwete Krishna Lagi Sudar Manash. He distinguishes, as does Prabhupada, the difference between those who take devotional service cheaply, who don't follow Shastra. Shruti Smiti Paranadi Panchachiki Vidambina Aikantiki Harir Bhakti Patayaiva Kalpate. And therefore, because they don't know Shastra, they don't follow Shastra, they concoct something, they cause a disturbance to society. So Śrīla Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura was an avid teacher of Shastra and Siddhanta, and he advocated that those who join the Krishna conscious movement should be similarly educated to know what it is. So I recommend taking the Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhav, Bhaktivedanta. I'm taking it. I'm almost done. And I don't look forward to finishing. I would like to be forced more to engage in, because that's one of his major contributions. And it's borne out in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Tashradhana munayo jnana vairagya yuktaya pashyantya manichatmanam bhakta shruta grihitaya Devotional service should be fortified with clear knowledge of the Shastra, and Prabhupada specifically talks about knowing the teachings of the six Goswamis very clearly, to be able to know what bhakti is. So that's important, and to that degree Prabhupada especially mentions how Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta had a huge war. I guess wars are huge in general, otherwise you'd say something like a battle. So it was a war against the Jati Gosai, who had closed ranks, so to speak, and claimed exclusivity in being the leaders of Lord Chaitanya's movement, or teaching spirituality in general, saying that it was hereditary. And of course, according to Michel's Iron Laws of Oligarchy, something that my godbrother Vishnu Prabhu introduced to me many years ago, which says that as soon as a person, even who has goodwill to do something for the world, do something nice for the world, gets a sense of power, then they transfer their energy to protecting the power rather than doing their energy for doing the job. It's a problem. It's been a problem since the beginning of time. That's why people sometimes say, oh, religious movements, they're a cause of so many problems. It's not necessarily religious movements, it's people that cause problems. In case you haven't noticed, being a Goshtiyanandi in general can be a real pain because of people. So he defeated the Jati Gosai single-handedly, most notably in his debate that he attended in replacement of his father. And it was such a sound exposition of Shastra and logic that the people in the crowd there almost stampeded to try to touch his lotus feet. Somebody who should have been promoted after that to GBC had dipped his lotus feet in some water and then sprinkled it on, and thus diffused the crowd and lessened the carnage, or there was no carnage, hopefully. So that's notable, that we should know Siddhanta, we should be known for straightforward but also realized teachings that touch the hearts of people so they can take to the path of devotional service and not concoct anything. That's a thing. And that's a part of our institution. So Prabhupada said to a group of us in San Francisco around 1974, he said, I've not written these books just for selling. I've written them for you to read, become pure devotees, and go back to Godhead. And so reading and studying and hearing and chanting is one of the teachings that we can take up, another of the teachings. And another is the principle of yena tena prakarena mana kṛṣṇeti deveshaya. Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura, in his great compassion for people of the world who had different psychophysiological mindsets, natures, he would adjust the presentation that he was giving in order to capture them. For instance, he notably, famously, came to Radhakund in a car. He also dressed his disciples in Western clothes for effect. The effect was whatever it takes to help people embrace Krishna consciousness. According to the Śrī Bhaktisiddhānta Vaibhav, he would put on festivals. On the exterior perimeter of the festival, there would be cotton candy, anyone? And Ferris wheels. Yeah, it's health food. And people would better get attracted to that. Then there would be concentric circles going inward further and further until you get to the Harinam Sankirtan and the literature. And people would be sucked in. The yena tena prakarena principle of one way or another attract people to come in so that they can somehow or other think of Kṛṣṇa. It was a principle of Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura in utilizing everything. Anasaktasya vishayan yatarham upayunjita. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyamuchite Prapanchikatya Buddhya Harisambandhi Vasina Mumukshavi Prityago Vairagyam Palgukatite. That is, everything in the world is paraphernalia to be used to expand the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nothing should be left behind. That was a hallmark of his strategy that was picked up by his disciple, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. Can I have my phone? People have been sending me quotes, notable people, and since it's there. It's on there. All right, I won't read them. Rameshwar Prabhu had sent me a quote this morning from the Veda base saying, Śrīla Prabhupāda had mentioned that by taking the order to expand Lord Chaitanya's movement, to take it seriously, he mentioned, Prabhupada said, you'll get 1,000 times the blessings from my Guru Maharaj. And it was something that Śrīla Prabhupada again and again emphasized. In that conversation in 1974, one of the devotees in the room had said, Prabhupada, it's all your mercy. And he said, it is not. He said, it is the mercy of my Guru Maharaj. And he would always defer to Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura. Yesterday, Navina Nirada Prabhu had questioned whether if somebody grabs a copper wire, it's the electricity, if it's a chain of people, does the electricity go through and then amplify as it gets to the end? Well, the answer is a little bit complicated because there's amplitude and current, and I don't understand the difference between the two necessarily. But when I asked ChatGPT, it said, no, the last person in the line doesn't get more. But then when I heard this quote this morning, I understood that ChatGPT doesn't understand the spiritual principle. Which that the person further away somehow or other gets 1,000 times what you got. But the fact is, it's available to everybody. This is one of the principles of leadership, is to try to fan the spark in every person. When you see somebody, try to see the potential and try to give them an opportunity, encourage them, because you never know. I mean, they're all souls. They can come up. That's the mood of Śrīla Bhaktivinoda Ṭhākura, Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī. That's our movement. It's about compassion. Let's see if we have one more question. Yes. Hey, Kalakanta.
A delightful class by Śrī Prabhu and recitation Sarvabhauma Prabhu. Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī gave a very specific order to Śrīla Prabhupāda. What is your advice for someone whose only order from their spiritual master is to chant 16 rounds and follow the 4 regulative principles?
They're very lucky. And that in and of itself is no small feat. It's more than getting ready for an Olympic event. Sometimes I see young people nowadays, they're going to school, college, and they grow up in an environment where all A's isn't enough, you have to have A+. And then they start chanting 16 rounds, and I tell them, and following 4 regulative principles, that it's like being a 2-sport athlete in the Olympics, which requires sacrifice from the very beginning. So if one could follow that, then as Lord Brahma says, Yane prayasam udapasya namanta eva jivanti san mukaritan bhavadiya vartam. And in the purport, jivanti san. So if you could just stay alive and hear Kṛṣṇa Katha, that's fine. And it's similar in Tenu Kampam Susamikṣamana Bunjana Evatmakitampi in 110.8. And the first paragraph is the commentary of Sridhar Swami, and he says, what's the duty of the son of a rich man? What's the duty? Stay alive. He said, so somehow or other, main thing is to stay alive in Krishna consciousness. So somebody, hallmark of our teaching, again, I've used the word 3 times, sorry. There's a way in which if one chants Hare Krishna non-offensively, it'll become the most valuable asset anywhere. Just chanting Hare Krishna is enough. If you can chant 16 rounds every day without offense and follow the 4 regular principles, you'll become celebrated wherever you go. In fact, Prabhupada said devotees are celebrated wherever they go because we carry the mantle of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he said if you follow 4 regular principles and chant 16 rounds, which is what's been passed down to us, then people, as Prabhupada noted in Surat, when the devotees first went there, they were grabbing dirt off the ground till there were divots in the ground. These were Americans, and the Indians from Surat were grabbing the dirt and rubbing it all over their body, and Prabhupada said that's because you follow 4 regular principles and chant 16 rounds. And just when we were going in Vrindavan to the Raman Reti, unfortunately it was on a Friday and we left a little late and we got in a horrendous traffic jam, everyone wanting to go to Raman Reti. And so the buses we had, 3 of them, they all got stuck. So the devotees, they all had book bags and they jumped off the buses and they started distributing books to everybody in the traffic jam. And then suddenly the buses took off and they missed their bus. So one of the other buses that had nothing to do with our yatra saw them distributing books, said, "Get on our bus." And because they were representing Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura, carrying the mantle, they told us they felt authorized to get on that bus. Not only that, they were welcomed. Similarly, we'll be welcomed everywhere if we chant 16 rounds and follow 4 regular principles. What's more, tesham satata yuktanam, everything else becomes clear about what to do if one does that. And that is the main principle. If we chant Hare Krishna without offense, then we'll get clear instruction from Kṛṣṇa of how to interact with others' leadership, how to form a mission and expand it. And that's our main job. Speaking of main jobs, I just have a couple of quick announcements to make. One is that, sorry, I didn't mean to grab it so abruptly. My wife told me not to do that. We have a campaign going on right now, as we always do, because when we stop doing book distribution campaigns, people vociferously complain. You might think it's the opposite. They say, how come we're always pushing so hard? It's because it's a short life. We only have a few minutes on this planet in geological time. We might as well leave it all on the field. What do you say? Say yes. Yes. Say Haribol. So right now there's a soft campaign going on because we don't want to jangle anybody's nerves. And that is that we're distributing Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita sets all over the world. We have a goal of at least 7,000 sets for the world, which is, I know, it's introductory. But it's there nonetheless, and it's called Be a Gardener. It's a beautiful campaign, it's all branded, and it's going on right now. And so here, the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is behind me on a table, right next to, Sarv, go like this. On display, next to His Grace, Sarvabhauma Prabhu, which is indicative of the good fortune you'll get if you take one. Yes. Okay, 1 set. Haribol. Okay, take the names, everybody's name.
We have volunteers on standby to pass.
Volunteers are on standby to pass you a chit. So the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita price anywhere in India is rupees 4,300 only, including shipping. Devakinanda Prabhu, a couple years ago, pledged for 5, and this morning he said, send him a letter to Bombay. He has a check already made out. 2, a form will be handed with a pen to be filled out. That's happening right here. Forms to be submitted at the table behind the Vyasasana, because it's way back there.
No, it's right here.
Oh, it's right there. Okay, no stampede, please. Shipping takes a few weeks. We will ship it to you. And it's available in North America, UK, and obviously India. India, UK, and North America. And if you're not in one of those countries, please move. No, just kidding. I also, at great risk to our safety, have a gift for everybody in the class, which is a table way on the other side of the temple room, because, oh no, it's right over here. I have I give the token of appreciation. I really feel so grateful to be part of this movement. I just a little nobody sitting in the suburb, Lafayette, California. Didn't know what to do until Prabhupada arranged to send the Back to Guided magazine, and then I knew I had hit the spiritual jackpot. And I just feel grateful to be a part of this, to have your association, and thank you for letting me hang around and try to do some service at your lotus feet. And today we pray. Should I say anything else? Right afterwards, we're going to move back here and give out tilak balls to everybody. I hope. If not, I'll make up for it later while I'm here, if you didn't get one. And also, we'll take your orders for Śrī Chaitanya Charitamrita sets. By the way, there's 1 minute left. Does anybody want to sponsor a set? It's 43. Okay, Rameshwar Prabhu, give him a... We only have like 30 seconds, so you got to do this fast. Okay, in the back, you're getting your form. Raise your hand, you'll get a form. Okay, Kṛṣṇa with Madaripura. Quick, there's like 20 seconds. This is no kidding around. Okay, forms over here. Right there. Quick, quick, quick. Hands over here. Bali! Bali Mardan. The Bali Mardan is here.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes.
Can I have one question, quick one? Because Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura, he was not able to finish his message that Varnashram is very important, and Śrīla Prabhupāda followed in his footsteps. He says, half of my mission is not complete. So how important it is for our movement to continue on if there is no Varnashram?
That's a good question, and that's one of the main topics here at the ILS. So please attend. Okay? Dear Śrīla Prabhupāda, dear Śrīla Prabhupāda, dear Śrīla Bhaktisiddhānta Sarasvatī Ṭhākura, if you so desire, please engage us in the same selfless spirit in which you engaged in the service of Śrī Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to assist you in expanding compassion of Lord Chaitanya all over the world. Please let us expand our capacity for book distribution, Harinam, transcendental prasadam distribution, Varnashram, farms, education. Throw it in now. Vaishnav care, deity worship, child protection, cow protection. It's your last chance. Get it in, huh? Science preaching, etc., etc., etc. Please empower us. Please use us as instruments. We're at your ready service. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone who agrees with this prayer in whole or in part, please unmute and say Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarishya kripasindhaveva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo. Chaitanya Charitamritas, come get them. Sponsor one for somebody else, or we'll send one to you. And also, free gift in the very back. Hare Krishna.